Morning, this is V, and the book I'll be talking about today is Ink and Bone by Rachel Caine. This is the first book of the Great Library series. So a little bit about the world first. At some point in the history of this universe, it diverges from ours with the creation of an organization that's referred to as the Great Library. So the idea was that there would be a library whose sole purpose was to collect and preserve all the knowledge of mankind, so that it wouldn't be lost in things like wars between different countries. But in the present day, what's happened is that the library has become the sole governing body, I guess, that oversees all the information that people have access to. So the ownership of what is called, referred to as original works, like the handwritten original copies of books, is actually illegal. And instead of having printed copies of books like we have in our world, they use what is called a blank. So everyone has blanks. You can request one, and I guess it sounds like what it essentially is a blank copy of a book in which text will appear when you request it. So you let the blank know what you want to read, and then the library uses a process of alchemy to mirror the text from the original in their archives into your book so that you can read it. The problem is that this gives the library a lot of control over what information each person has access to, and it also lets them watch everything that people are reading and all the texts that are being circulated. So in other words, it gives them a lot of power over knowledge in general. The main character is a young man called Jess Brightwell. He comes from a family of book smugglers. So since owning original copies is illegal, of course there's kind of a semi-thriving underground of people who want to buy original copies on the black market and stuff. So you have people who want to own rare things, you have people who are really in love with having real books in their hands, and you also have people with really weird fascination with I guess I won't go into that since that's part of the book. Anyways, so he comes from this family of smugglers, but because of an incident when he was younger, he kind of develops a really serious distaste for his family business, and he has no desire to inherit the family business, even though he is the elder son. So instead, his father gives him an ultimatum because he still wants him to be useful to them in some way. And he really loves books. So his father makes him go to the Great Library as a student with the goal of having him become a library scholar and essentially spy for the family. The main character just isn't really sure if he wants to do this, but he doesn't really have a lot of choices since his dad basically threatened to disown him. But after he gets there, he starts to discover that, his own love of books and learning might actually mean that this could be a good placement for him. But at the same time, he starts to encounter a lot of the darker sides of the library that he didn't really think about before, and that people in the society are kind of discouraged from noticing and thinking about. He also meets a lot of other students from different places with their own ideas and goals that are pretty different from him, and there's a lot of clashing personalities. So I think something that I liked about this book was definitely seeing how all these different students in his class came to respect and care for each other. It did a really good job of having them pull together into what felt like a solid team with solid relationships and friendships and stuff. Since I just finished the Wonderland trials, I kind of couldn't help comparing the two, since they both had this idea of teams of semi-strangers who did not get along at first but eventually build this kind of friendship and close ties. But I think this book does it a lot better. And that was something that I really enjoyed seeing the process of, and the way they learn about their teacher and his history and the way they all pull together through hard times. But just a few warnings, I guess, that I would probably want to know before reading is that this is kind of a dark book. It's definitely the first book of a building revolution, and it introduces a lot of kind of unpleasant organizations and people that you really look forward to being taken down. And quite a lot of characters die. Like they do go into a war zone, for instance, and it paints a pretty realistically horrible picture of what it's like to be in a war. So, like I said, in general, there's a fairly large amount of violence, and generally the world is kind of dark because there's like conspiracies around every corner, and basically every major organization is bad, or at least so far as I can tell. It's just that you have, I think, a pretty good faith that the main character and his friends will eventually be able to manage something. So I wouldn't exactly say that it's like a super dark feeling kind of book. So that's it for this one. Thanks for listening.